sure. I mean, it's more than a dream, actually. I did not expect so many people under the podium, and it's just crazy. I think if any Ferrari drivers choose one Grand Prix to win, it will be the Italian one, and I'm very happy to do so just after my first ever win in Formula One. So it feels unbelievable.
There are fewer than 30 men in the world qualified to drive Formula One. A mere half dozen, perhaps, to win. At this moment, I'm inclined to think you are not one of them.
No, you want to. Keep up the good work, Stephen, and there you have it. There you go.
Hello, this is Desiree for F1weekly.com. I'm your in-depth correspondent.
Let's go. Good qualifying, Steve.
Welcome to F1weekly.com. My name is Clark Rogers. I'm the host of the program. I'll be joined by Nasser Hamid, my co-host. This is podcast number 803, September 9th. 2019. Nasser?
Grazie, signor. Charles Leclerc on a prancing horse. Seb on a jackass performance. Now back to Mussolini of motorsports, making podcasts run on time.
Thank you, Nasser. On today's program, when they compare Imola 2005 to your drive at Monza, you know you have arrived. What has happened to Vettel? Or is it Vettel? And Renault looking pretty good. And I just want to remind everybody, we need your contributions to keep this program on the air. Just click on the Support F1 Weekly tab on the front page. You know you want to. Anyone who donates $100 or more will receive an F1 Weekly teacup and sticker. Nasser, welcome to the studio. Are you feeling machismo as I am?
Oh, yes, sir. I am feeling nouvelle machismo. We have a new machismo in Maranello. Are you excited?
Oh, mamma mia, that was a spicy meatball. I mean, serious. I mean, mama. I mean, I hugged my mama. I hugged his mama. I hugged everybody's mama. All I know is, when people start talking about Imola 2005 and machismo hombre de España compared to this drive, we know what's going on. We have the changing of the guard.
Yes, sir, and I hate to say this. Never thought I would say this, but it's pretty obvious now, after Spa and Monza, that Sebastian Vettel's Das Party is kaput.
Yes. Well, not only that, but the sadness of the kaput. Great champion, 4-time world champion with Red Bull and Renault power, but he just couldn't put it together. And now with this new teammate in 2019, it really shows why he couldn't put it together.
Yes.
And let's not shy away from the fact that Vettel is still a talented young driver, but when you have the machismo step in, things change rather quickly.
I think what he's going to get as a Christmas present from Fernando Alonso in December.
I agree. It's going to be a beautiful present. A picture of...
It will be reality with some excitement. I think Nando is going to go back into the archives of Sports Illustrated, SI as it's known here, and I think he's going to order a SI swimsuit calendar to keep him happy over the winter and to bring him into reality. It will be the swimsuit edition from the 2007 year. So he's getting a taste of Nando's medicine now.
Mamma mia. I don't remember 2007, but I'm sure it was exciting.
Well, if I can find a Pirelli Heavenly Bodies calendar from 2007, I'll get it for you, Rogers.
It's the dawning of a new era, isn't it?
It is, but how about the dawning of a new nonsense that was seen in qualifying in Q3? You want to say a few words about it?
Yeah, sure. We don't care about qualifying. It's meaningless.
This is a very, very popular win, and I have to agree with you, which I do once in a while, that Collie is not worth talking about for the fantastico race we had. And Senor, as you know by now, or you should know by now, Autodromo Nazionale di Monza is my all-time favorite track and race since 1973. I love the fact that the race is over in about 80 minutes. Great location in a royal park, home to names like Parabolica, Lesmo, Rettifilio, Seraglio, Curva Grande, Curva Ascari, the banking, which really takes you back. This is real Pista Magica. Is there any, and the podium, man, what a fantastic green, white and red coloring there. Frecce Tricolori of Italia. Man, I need some gelato like Kimi Raikkonen now.
Exactly. Let's spread the ice cream to everybody. But really, this was a fantastic race. And not only that, but the machismo. Roscoe, be quiet. The machismo. The testicular fortitude of a young driver holding off the seasoned driver. I can see why we're talking about Imola 2005.
Of course, because it takes a young kid with big kahunas to hold back the legend of legends, Michael Schumacher, and the new upcoming legend of legends, Lewis Carl Hamilton. I mean, this was fantastic. Fantastic. I love it. But you know, Mr. Rogers, Ferraris were favourite to win this race thanks to the high-speed advantage they have on long straight, and at Monza we see cars at full throttle at more than 70% of the time. The Tifosis were in for a real treat at Royal Park, and young man down the road from Monte Carlo did not disappoint. And as Damon Hill once said, and he should know after winning a world championship against Michael Schumacher, that even if you have the best car and the best package, you still have to deliver. And I think, and a lot of people on the interweb, the chatter is that the turning point in the life and fast times of Mr. Leclerc in Formula One came not at Spa, not in Monza, but in Austria, where he was pushed and shoved by the Max Factor, and that's where he said no mas. And Charles, as he's known, has been very aggressive in defending his position on the track since then. And the pressure he soaked from the man who is marching to being the most successful Grand Prix driver of all time is no different than what you have already alluded to, the pressure a young man, a mini machismo at that time, from a small town in north of Spain soaked up at Imola in 2005. Only two words can describe this. Absolutely marvelous.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. I mean, this is the kind of race we want to see. I mean, this is what Formula was supposed to be about. And, you know, France this year was disappointing, but now we're getting to the guts of it all. And now, and I feel terrible for Vettel, but his time has come. It's over, and you know, I don't see how Vettel sticks around for 2020.
Yeah. Do you remember many years ago on TV, Kelly LeBrock used to do commercials for Brood? And she used to say, Brood, the essence of man. The Monza race reminded me of Kelly LeBrock. And I thought to myself, this is the essence of motor racing. What a fantastic race. What a great track. Just everything about this whole weekend was absolutely fantastico, senor. And talking of Sebastian Vettel, youngest world champion, and I remember, I think it was, 2006 or 2007? It has to be 2007, when you ran into him at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Remember that?
I do remember that. A young whippersnapper, as we call them.
Yeah, and that was 2007, only, 12 years ago? And in those 12 years, he has become the youngest world champion, youngest double, youngest triple, youngest quadruple, has made a lot of money, good for him. What a season he had. when he won the championship, how many races he had? Like 13 wins, 9 of them were in a row, and his teammate did not win a race. And now he has come to McLaren 2007. Oh, excuse me, you don't like that. He has come to Ferrari with what a catch Charles Leclerc is. You know what is interesting? My friend Olivier Menu, who used to work for Nicolas Todd's all-road management, and these are the people who manage Charles Leclerc, many years ago he wrote to me that we have hired this young karting kid. He will be in Vegas. Would you like to go and talk to him? And I said, who is this kid? And he tells me, Charles Leclerc. So my buddy Jimmy and I, we went there. We sat down and had a brief interview with him. And what a weekend that was in Vegas, Clark. He was there. Lance Stroll was there, who won the race very impressively. George Russell was in that race. Max Verstappen was in that race. And here we are. I could not believe, when he was being interviewed in the post-race press conference, that only a few years ago, like 7 years ago, this kid was sitting on a small chair in a tent in Las Vegas, Nevada, doing karting, and now he has just won one of the most important, and this race will be remembered for a long, long time.
Yeah, I agree. The dominance, the machismo-ness of holding off Lewis Hamilton, Hamilton making a mistake, and then him holding off the second Mercedes, the salad maker, the Rubinho, was very impressive. And this will go down in the annals of Formula One history as the Imola 2005 almost as cool. You know what I'm saying?
No, totally agree with you. And silver arrows were shooting at close range but missed the target. Mercedes threw everything at him, first through LCH and then later in the race with Bottas on fresher tires. Interesting but different tire strategies by the two teams. LCH came out on medium tires while Charles, pitting a lap later than Lewis, came out on hard tires, and I really thought Lewis will at least take the lead if not win the race. Now LCH got within DRS range on many laps but just could not pass the Ferrari on the front or back straight. He tried to take the lead on lap 23, but, to borrow a phrase from Martin Brundle, Leclerc was a little naughty. What do you expect at Monza? It was fantastic to see the two drivers carry on close combat lap after lap. I think, and you tell me what you think, I think even if Lewis had gotten ahead of Charles Leclerc, given the speed advantage Ferrari had, I think it would have been easier for Charles to repass him, especially with the added help of DRS. What say you?
I totally agree. Not only that, but the hunger in his belly. And we don't talk about the belly too much. It's not deli belly. This is F1 belly. And when you're young, and that hunger is it's really eating at the lining of the belly, you get great racing. And this young man, I'm telling you, so he was probably born with a silver spoon in his mouth, lives in Monaco, and has never had to pawn his wedding ring to get into Formula One. But nevertheless, the hunger, the belly is aching for the machismo-ness, and he's getting it. And not only that, but I hate to say this, but we are feeding the monster. I think Leclerc is going to become more machismo, and in the next few races, we might have a monster on our hands.
Yeah, no question about it. Wait till he gets into a car that's fast everywhere. Can't wait to see him, Lewis, and Max Verstappen in equally competitive machinery. That will be the day.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, Red Bull didn't have their shit together and were a non-issue. Occasionally, we talked about Albon in the race, but and I have to admit, Ricciardo and Renault did giggle a little bit about it.
Yeah, and when Lewis cut the chicane on lap 42, it was obvious the team would ask Bottas to pump up the volume and try to take the win from Ferrari in the last few laps. With much fresher tires than Charles, Bottas got within DRS range, but then blew it when he lost half a second on lap 51 or 53. And that was all Scuderia Ferrari and Charles Leclerc and the hundreds of thousands of tifosis there needed. A very popular, well-deserved second win for Leclerc, joining a list of few drivers like your favorite Lewis Hamilton to win their first two Grand Prix races back-to-back. And this is first win for Ferrari at Monza since 2010. The winner back then was at the track, but Nando had left the park by the end of the race. He's got Dakar on his mind. So now, Mr. Rogers, we come to the big question. And the question is, why is Ferrari paying $25 million or more per year to number 2? Seb was rattled by new kid on the block at Red Bull in the form of Daniel Ricciardo, and now he is dazed and confused by the new kid in Maranello. For the second year in a row, he spun in the opening laps of the race. His coming back on track was clumsy and got him a 10-second stop-and-go penalty. And how low can it go for you when Lance Stroll calls you an idiot? Which was the funniest part of the race for me. Outpaced in quali, teammate winning the last two races, Seb is now 5th in the championship behind Charles. Tables have been turned on him at Ferrari, and there is no place to run or hide for him, except for his palatial palace in Switzerland. Top dogs are barking loud at the other race-winning teams. Even if they had an opening, one of them might be available at the end of the season. But normally, if a race driver is destabilized by a rookie in the team, and we have seen this movie before, then what are the chances of beating well-established drivers who also have the benefit of all the lovey-dovey a team can dish out? Not sure what Seb will decide for 2020. I just do not see him as a driver who is interested in being Rubinho. Perhaps some Asti Spumanti with Nico Rosberg may help him make a decision to avoid further embarrassment next season. Time will tell. What say you, Senor, about Sebastian and the next season?
You know what? There's nothing wrong with retiring. Rosberg obviously did it abruptly, but in the end, the camera cannot lie. Certainly, it makes you look heavier, but when it makes you look slower, it's time to bow out.
Yeah, and there is nothing worse than seeing great legends of the sport struggle in their last final years.
Very, very true, and we've seen this time and time again. I mean, he's a 4-time world champion. He's raced a Ferrari, the top team. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? Old Man River, that old man River, he says nothing, but he knows I'm washed up. That old man River, he knows I've been whooped.
Yes, and the thing is, even if there was an opening at Mercedes, he's German, their team is German, he'll fit in there very well. But then he will look on the other car and it will say Hamilton. So that's doom, doom, doom. At Red Bull, oh boy, Max cannot wait for him.
Exactly. So the best thing to do is retire, and you can do great television commercials or advertisements about antacids.
Yes, or try to sell more Fiat Pandas and Puntos in Deutschland über alles. Okay, now the Renault's your favorite car. The yellow car started on row 3. Danny Rick ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Time difference between Danny Rick and Poleman Leclerc was only half a second, which is impressive on a power circuit like Monza. Both cars finishing in the top 5 was equally impressive, even though Ricciardo in 4th was 45 seconds behind race winner. Does that give you hope for a Renault win next season, Senor?
Well, it does. I mean, let's face it. I was surprised. This is a high-speed, high-paced racetrack. And for Renault being on row 3, one must think we have the horsepower.
Yeah, and looking ahead with Esteban Ocon coming to the team as teammate to Daniel Ricciardo, Do you think he will rattle Daniel Ricciardo's cage?
Not a chance. Ricciardo's a pretty tough cookie.
Yeah, he is. It didn't take him much long to prevail over Hülkenberg, who is very good, and he can run with him. But I think Esteban Ocon is going to find out that Ricciardo is a little different than his ex-teammate Sergio Perez. But, let's hope I'm wrong, and maybe Esteban could be the new Charles Leclerc, but we will see. Now, Red Bull. Alexander Albon made it to Q3 and started 8th. He drove his usual hard race and improved to 6th at the end of the race. His teammate, the immensely talented Max Verstappen, was, by his standards, MIA at Monza, though not of his own fault. Started from the last row because of change of power unit, got into argy-bargy and damaged his front wing going into the first corner on the opening lap. Picked up some points by finishing 8th behind Perez in 7th. Checo had started from 18th on the grid, so it was good clawback for the Pink Panther. Now the only Italian, Signor Antonio Giovinazzi, was 9th for Alfa Romeo, and Lando Norris picked up the final point from his 10th place finish. Last car running in 17th at the end of the race was, surprise, surprise, Robert Kubica, 2 laps down. His teammate George Russell was 14th, 1 lap down. 3 drivers did not finish, K-Mag, Kvyat, and Sainz Jr. Apparently, McLaren team had too much spaghetti Saturday night and did not put wheel on his car properly on his pit stop, and Lewis Hamilton, after a late pit stop to get the extra point from the fastest lap, was able to set the fastest lap. So, looking back, any other things you want to say on the Formula One Gran Premio d'Italia?
Not really, except for Max being a non-issue. Red Bull talked about Albon a few times, but it really wasn't happening. Renault giggling a lot. I enjoyed the snickering. And on the other hand, this looks to me as the race that defined the end of one era and the beginning of another.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Lewis is lucky that even the new and improved Bottas 2.0 is still about 0.3, 0.4 seconds slower than him.
Yes, nothing's changed, except that Lewis now realizes that it's not only Max Verstappen in the future, it's Charles Leclerc.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. But what do you think is going to happen in the remaining races? Even Charles Leclerc said that, the coming tracks will not suit our car.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, now we're going back to Red Bull and Mercedes, which is fine. We've had Monza. We can take a break and we can relax. We're going to Singapore, and we know Red Bull will be strong there if they don't screw it up. And but let's not get too excited here. Ferrari have looked good in the past at Singapore, and I think with a driver like Leclerc, he can compensate for their lack of pace on a street circuit, and we still may get machismo-ness.
Yes, it will be very interesting to see if he can pick up another win this year. And I would hate to see Sebastian Vettel not win a race and Charles get 2 or 3 wins. 2 he already has. 3 or 4 wins. That will be very, very bad.
Bad for Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, poor Vettel. But he does have a contract with Vittel Water.
Yes. And talking of contract, there are reports that this Canadian kid, the second Trustafarian from O Canada, Mr. Nicholas Latifi, will probably drive for Williams. Obviously, his father being a multi-billionaire, they probably can bring more money than $10 million from Polish oil company that Robert Kubica brought.
Yeah. If my father was a billionaire, I would be driving for Williams.
Oh, absolutely.
I could do the podcast while I'm driving.
Yeah, with the pace the car is going, you'll be able to do that. But I can just picture you and Claire Williams at a road chef at a London highway having kidney pudding.
I love kidney pudding. So anyway, why don't we take a quick break and we'll be back after this brief message.
I am Anu, and you must listen like me, F1 Weekly.
Welcome back to F1weekly.com. Clark Rogers here, your host. And now, as we spin the globe and go around the world with Motorsports Mondial and the king, the guru himself, Nasser Hamid.
Thank you, sir. And we shall start with the official feeder series of F1, which is now called F2, Formula 2, from Monza, of course. The feature race was won by Japanese driver Nobuharu Matsushita, also called Matsushita. Not sure which one is correct. Local lad Luca Giotto was second, with Dutchman Nick de Vries third. Sunday's sprint race was won by British driver Jack Aitken. Fellow chap Jordan King was second. De Vries was again third and leads the championship with 225 points over Canadian Nicholas Latifi on 166. Who, as we said earlier, may be replacing Kubica at Williams. De Vries is in his third year of competition at this level. Once upon a time, he was in the McLaren driver program and managed by none other than Anthony Hamilton. Now we come to the Formula 3 race, which previously used to be known as GP3. Race 1 on Saturday was won by Russian driver Robert Schwartzman over Indian racer Jahan Daruvala. During the race, Australian driver Alex Peroni took off like a fighter pilot and did a few barrel rolls before landing back on the barriers. Very scary accident, but he was able to walk away. He had gone off the track while approaching Parabolica, and when he tried to get back on the track, he was launched into the air by the sausage curves, which were immediately removed for the rest of the weekend. Have you seen this accident, Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I did. It was brutal.
It was very, very scary. And apparently he has some injury in his neck, but otherwise he's okay. Race 2 on Sunday saw first win in the series for Japanese driver Yuki Tsunoda. He is supported by Honda. During the race, when the team sent him a radio message, he was not so trifle polite, telling them, "Shut up." Second was Red Bull Jr. from New Zealand, and who I think could be a star of the future, Liam Lawson. In the championship, Russian driver Robert Schwartzman leads with 180 points over second place driver Jahan Daruvala on 147. Now we go to Silverstone for the Euro Open Formula, which is a fancy name for series previously known as Spanish F3. F1 Weekly's head of European operations, Mr. Peter Brazier, was at this race and conveyed our greetings to our friend of F1 Weekly, Inam Ahmed, who was making a one-off appearance in this series and finished both races in second place, which is pretty good. His Motorpark Japanese teammate Toshiki Oyu was the winner in both races. Danish driver Nikolai Kjærgaard was third. Sunday's second race had the shampoo effect, rinse and repeat. The same three drivers finished in the same position. And sir, I have to ask you to give us an update from the world of Le NASCAR.
Le NASCAR, lots of turmoil. I am telling you, there is nothing but trouble. And people were whining and moaning about the fencing at Indianapolis. Tears, tears, tears. I'm tired of it.
Would you like to go to the Brickyard 400 someday?
No.
How about the Daytona 500?
Sure.
That will be good. I mean, I do plan to attend before I kick the bucket Daytona 500. I think what would be really fun is to just go there for the last 50 laps. That's where the action is.
I think the last lap is fine.
Just the last lap?
Yeah, the last lap, have a hot dog, and then go home.
What if nowadays these races don't finish under a caution?
A caution?
Yeah, caution.
Or a tire fire?
Yeah, tire fire and the rocket fire explosion with Juan Pablo Montoya.
That's brutal.
And do you have any update for us on Nando and Dakar?
Nando is going to be exciting in Dakar. You know, he's getting ready, and his goal is to make it to the Camping Truck Series.
Oh boy, he's really shooting high, huh?
Yep, he's gaining some weight, eating a lot of fat, and he's gonna be all right.
Yeah, that's what you do, you know. Win a race in Monte Carlo, and then go in circles in Martinsville and Hickory Speedway in North Carolina. That's what I call upward mobility of your motorsports career. Sir, as you know, I like Monza Autodromo, You have been there, right? Of course you were there with 1 year when Dr. Mark was also there, right?
I was there in 2010 when Fernando won.
Wow. I was there in 2007. Guess who won that day?
Michael Schumacher.
No, Fernando Alonso in a McLaren.
El machismo hombre de España?
Yeah. Very, very impressive performance. I love it.
Yes. I'm telling you, when you see Fernando win, it's like a day with double sunshine.
Yes, it is true. Okay, so just look at some history of Monza, what has happened there. You know, this Italian Grand Prix, like the British Grand Prix, has been on the calendar every year since 1950, and Monza has hosted all the races except 1980, which took place at Imola and was won by Nelson Piquet in his Brabham. And some interesting tidbits. 1971, one of the fastest races of all time and also one of the greatest finishes. Must see on YouTube. I highly recommend. Peter Gethin was the winner in a BRM, and this was the last Grand Prix at Monza before they brought the chicanes in. Now, this question was brought up, issue was brought up in a post-race press conference by a Finnish journalist, and it was interesting. He asked Bottas that a Finnish driver has finished 7th in the Italian Grand Prix, second 7 times, but never been a winner. When will it change? So this was kind of interesting that Kimi Räikkönen, Keke Rosberg, and Mika Hakkinen never won there. Now, do you remember when Hakkinen crashed and was crying in the woods?
Oh, the crying in the bushes.
Yes, that was at Monza, and that, because of time constraint, I could not ask him. But, what was interesting in talking to Mika Hakkinen, I asked him, if I could meet him again, and he pointed me to his PR guy. He said, yeah, give your contact info to him. So hopefully one day somewhere we will catch up with him and talk about crying in the woods of, we can have our own tales from the Monza woods.
Yes, that would be exciting. I did want to remind you about the crying in the bushes. But that was the Schumacher era. I didn't want to bring any odd feelings up, so that's it.
And talking of Michael Schumacher, in 2006, he won the Monza Grand Prix, and I was at that race also, okay? And then he announced his retirement from Formula One in the post-race press conference. Little did he know, Ferrari PR department started handing out press release announcing Kimi as their new driver as soon as Schumacher took the checkered flag. That was not a very classy thing to do, in my opinion, especially for a guy who brought them so much success. But that's the way it goes. And 1982 is very, very important to me. This was my first ever Grand Prix. Great privilege to see Mario Andretti on pole in his beautiful Ferrari 126 C2. He would take his last podium in F1 by finishing 3rd. And René Arnoux was the winner in his Renault Turbo. The thing I always remember about that race. Do you remember the yellow colors of Renault from the 80s?
Of course.
And on one of the laps, I was on the front straight grandstand. On one of the laps, Mario Andretti and Alain Prost went cockpit to cockpit together all the way into the first corner, and that's when I lost sight. So I figured that since Prost was catching up and had caught up to him, that next time around he would be ahead of him. And man, the same thing was repeated. Mario Andretti in the red Ferrari and Alain Prost in that beautiful turbocharged Renault side by side for the second time. But the third time he got ahead. But then he broke down and Mario went on to finish 3rd. So, I met Mario Andretti at St. Petersburg in March, and I had a brief chat with him, and we were just talking about different things. And my final thing to him was, I said to him, man, I still love Monza 1982 best. And he had a big laugh. So that was a very, very important day in my life. Okay, sir, very important now. Famous last words. Today they come from a headline on autoracing.com, and this was the headline: NASCAR to get a comedy series. Need I say more? But here is a good employment or earning potential for you. I was thinking you can play in this comedy series Dick Trickle, and Desiree could do Danica.
That's a good point, Nasser. Keep up the good work. This is why you get the bonus checks while I get nothing from nothing, which leaves nothing. And by the way, I believe today is Johnny Chikotto's birthday.
The junior or senior?
Senior.
The motorcycle legend.
Si, bravo.
The man, what a name he was when he was racing in Moto GP or whatever it was called in those days. I was listening in those days. They had Kenny Roberts and Eddie Lawson from L.A., Giacomo Agostini. Oh boy, those were the days.
Yep. Ooh, the memories.
I sent an email to somebody asking if they can put me in touch with the great Ago Giacomo Agostini, but I haven't heard back because that's another gentleman I would love to sit down and have a chat with.
I like that, Nas. Keep up the good work. And there you have it. Quick prediction for Singapore.
I think it's going to be between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, advantage silver car.
Not me.
What are you predicting, Nando?
Nando.
What I would like to see, because, when all is said and done, I am a race fan, not a fan of one particular team or driver. I would really like to see Renault keep moving and doing better, because, if these big corporations are not doing well, then they can easily pull the plug.
Yes, the plug may be pulled at Renault.
Yes, you never know.
You never know. I don't know. But things are not well on the world market.
Well, it's a very crowded marketplace, and when things get tough, then big expenditures go chop.
They do go top. Just like us here at F1 Weekly. No more secretary, no more kegerator in the back.
No more Keith Lorraine, huh?
No. Bravo. But that's the way it is. But yes, Nando will fill in at McLaren and will win in Singapore.
Okay, sir. Let's hope that works out.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nas. Keep up the good work. I want to thank everybody who listens. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.